how do the cameras on a budget $200 phone like this one compare to those on the mighty iPhone 12 Pro Max? Well, let's find out in this episode of the Learns Media and Tech Show. Hi, I'm Defender Colin.
And I'm Amira.
And I'm Clara.
Yes, so today in this episode of the Media Challenge, we are going to do something a little bit different. What are we going to do, Amira?
We're going to find the beauties of an iPhone compared to Android.
Okay. Right, the age-old question, the age-old debacle and debates of whether the iPhone 12 Pro Max camera lenses are better or maybe something from a budget phone will do its job. So, Clara, what phone is this?
So this is actually the Redmi 9T, and it just got released this year in January, and we actually bought it for about $200.
Wow, $200. And like, what kind of cameras do you have on this one?
So it actually has 3 cameras on the front and an additional one for your selfies.
Wow.
So in total there's 4 cameras.
4 cameras on a budget phone.
Yeah.
$200. Really value for money. Okay, now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Amira, the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
It has also 3 cameras on the back and on the front.
So 4 cameras as well.
Yeah, 4 cameras as well.
Okay, so let's take a look at how the iPhone 12 Pro Max 4 cameras can pit against and compare against the Redmi 90's 4 cameras. Something of David versus Goliath, right? And something that is 12 times more in terms of price. Does it mean that it has 12 times more the performance? So what is our verdict in pitting the humble Redmi 90 versus the mighty iPhone 12 Pro Max? Well, let's judge them based on these few features. Okay, first let's compare the camera's user interface or the UI. Now, Amira, which one do you prefer in terms of the UI?
I prefer the iPhone because it's very simple and straightforward.
I see. Yeah, I mean iPhones are meant for that purpose, and especially for OCD people like us, we will love it, right?
Yeah.
Simple to use, logical placement of all the buttons. Yeah, anyone who just pick up the phone will be able to use it. What about you, Clara? Which UI do you prefer?
I think I would prefer the Redmi's one, especially since the UI has a little bit more functions compared to the iPhone.
In fact, I think a lot more.
Yeah, you can change the shutter speed, ISO and aperture as well.
But we are comparing this, the in-cam default camera app, right?
And this is all in the native app itself.
Exactly. And well, an iPhone can actually do this also, but we need to buy a third-party app for that. So I think in this aspect, yeah, I do agree with Clara that the UI on the Redmi seems to be better. Okay. Next up, let's talk about other features like the slow-mo. Pretty interesting results that we get here. I think the Redmi has some form of slow-mo. Don't really know what kind of frame rate are we shooting, right?
And there's no settings also.
Yeah.
It's just one slow-mo button.
Correct. So it looks like, I don't know, looks like 60 frames or maybe 120 frames. But for the iPhone, wow, look at that footage. Yeah. How many frames can it go when it comes to the slow-mo on the iPhone?
It can go up to 1080p with 240 FPS.
240 frames per second on Full HD. That's really pro-grade slow-mo, yeah, on a phone. So as you can see on this kind of footage, right, it's quite crazy with 240 frames slow-mo. Yeah, so I think hands down, the iPhone wins in terms of this function. How about time lapse? Do you see like any distinct difference between the two phones, Clara?
I think time lapse is pretty standard, so it's just a very simple function for both phones.
Agreed, yeah. So nothing really special on the iPhone either. So I guess it's a draw. But let's move on to another criteria, I think, which is really important to videographers like us, which is the footage sharpness and the color reproduction?
Oh, in terms of sharpness, I think the iPhone clearly wins here. The Redmi has a bit of noise and the focus is not as clear as the iPhone.
Yeah, and it seems like there is some post-processing going on, right?
Yeah, so the colors appear more saturated as well. They have some form of post-processing in the videos that you take that you cannot remove.
Exactly, yeah. And I don't know, is it me, but you know, the footage seems like they have some beauty ad filter that is built in that you cannot remove one. Yeah. But how about the iPhone? What do you like about you know, the footage itself?
I like how the pictures and the videos turn out to be very sharp and very saturated, and the contrast is.
Yeah, talking about contrast, I think that's where the iPhone shines, because on video mode it has this Dolby Vision that is essentially running on a advanced HDR mode called Smart HDR3, and that brings out the darkest of blacks, and even on a saturated sunlit day you can still see some semblance of the blue in the sky, which is quite crazy, especially when you play it back on a HDR capable display. Yeah, so I think no fight in terms of footage, sharpness and colors. iPhone wins hands down. Agreed?
Yes, agree.
Okay. Moving on to the third aspect, which is the low light performance. Okay, so iPhone, I think
I think it will survive.
iPhone will survive. In fact, I think it does pretty well, especially for the main camera, the main tele lens, right? Yeah, because I think the f-stop can go down to, how low is it?
1.4.
Yeah, I think 1.4, 1.6, can't remember exactly. Yeah, so really, I think very respectable for a small lens like this. Oh no, how does the Redmi fare in terms of low light?
I think only in the worst case scenario you will use this for low light shooting of any kind. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
It's too noisy and it doesn't really, the sensor is too small for any light to get in.
Yep, correct. Okay, so remember, if you want to shoot low light, in low light conditions, maybe budget phones like this one are not the best suitable ones. The iPhone, take note, is only on the main camera, the main lens. You can do this on the ultra wide and on the super tele. You probably won't get as good a low light performance as the main camera. Okay, good. Let's go on to the last aspect of the shootout, which is the stabilization of the phone. Does the Redmi is the Redmi able to compete in this aspect?
There's no stabilization in the Redmi cameras at all.
Yeah, but it seems like there is some post-processing going on in terms of trying to stabilize the shot.
Yeah, slightly, but I would say it's not possible in most cases where you're using your hands to take the video.
Exactly, yeah. What about the iPhone?
I feel like the iPhone really does its job. Like, you don't even need to have a gimbal for that, so it's like really super stable.
So you take a look at this shot that the Amira took handheld while walking. It exactly looks like it is being shot on a gimbal. Really stable. Why? Is because the iPhone has a 5-axis optical stabilization, plus there is electronic stabilization as well. So making your shots buttery smooth. You don't even need like a gimbal like what Amira said.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's our verdict for the iPhone 12 Pro Max versus the Redmi 9T. Now, just for formality's sake, which do you think is the better camera phone?
iPhone.
Yeah, I think hands down the iPhone 12 Pro Max really won it this time. It's a David versus Goliath fight that the Redmi 9T simply have no chance of winning. But the question here is, at $2,400 for the iPhone versus $200 for the Redmi, right? Clara, do you think that the iPhone is worth 12 times more in terms of its price just for the camera functions?
I think certainly on camera functions alone, it's not 12 times better than the Redmi. So at $200, I think it's really a value for your money.
Yeah, I agree with that. How about you, Amira? Do you think it's worth 12 times the amount?
I mean, I feel like the iPhone does its job and the camera is actually really amazing. So I feel like it's Worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, it's all a matter of whether you want to spend that much for a phone or you think you can make do with a budget phone like the Redmi. Okay. So on that bombshell, let us know what you think about this episode of Learns Media and Tech Show. Leave your comments below for what you think about the iPhone 12 Pro Max versus the Redmi 9T. And of course, don't forget to like this video and also follow us in our Facebook and YouTube channels. Okay, so thank you for watching this episode. My name is Colin.
My name is Amira.
And I'm Clara.
Yes. Remember, why be different when you can be different? We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.